Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review movies and today's film is Hitman. It's a dramatic romantic comedy focusing on a teacher who helps run sting operations for his local police department. While posing as a hitman, he meets a woman trying to enlist his services and finds himself attracted to her. The film's story is based on a news article about a man named Gary Johnson from 2001 by Skip Hollandsworth, and was adapted into a screenplay by Richard Linklater and Glenn Powell. Richard Linklater directed the film, which stars Glenn Powell as Gary Johnson, the pretend hitman. He's backed up by Adria Arjona playing Madison and Austin Emilio playing the antagonist Jasper. Okay, to begin, I want to talk about the story because it's actually a really cool premise, but the concept is kind of hard to explain. Basically, it's about this guy who's very average. He's a good person, he has a decent job, and he likes cats. His only flaws are that he's not very social and he's a bad dresser. Slowly through his job as a fake hitman, he becomes a more interesting version of himself. Or at least he seems to. Then he meets this woman who challenges the ethics of what he and the cops are doing, and he ends up letting her go. From there, the two start a romantic entanglement that causes both of them to spiral downward. It's a fascinating tale with a lot of interesting dialogue and great interactions. Its characters are incredibly nuanced, and there's even a bit of humor on the side to even out the somewhat dark nature of the story. It's got a lot of mystery going on, a lot of romantic vibes coming from the lead couple, and the humor comes from watching Glenn Powell play out different versions of a meeting with potential clients. He dresses up as a goofy movie character type hitman and then meets with some dim-witted person who looks and sounds ridiculous trying to hire a hitman. The cast doesn't get a lot to do, but they generally do it well. There's a few police officers around Powell who joke around and play out a few bullying scenes. Then there's the people trying to hire a hitman. They're usually stereotypically poor and uneducated people, most of them complete with a regional accent. A lot of the humor comes from the general cast and their interactions with Powell as a hitman. For standout performances, you have all three of the leads. Glenn Powell, Adria Arjona, and Austin Emilio all got amazing roles and knocked them out of the park. Powell is playing an almost psychopathic character who seems to fake most of his personality throughout the day. He does it with insane precision and comes off very eerily as Gary Johnson. Then as he transitions to Ron the hitman, it feels like he flips a switch and the charisma comes flooding back. He grows from awkward and weird to hilarious and charming. His ability to pull off some of the accents and mannerisms during the hitman sketches led to a lot of big laughs, and he also did great with the romance storyline. He and Arjona showed off good chemistry together, and it was easy to see why his character would fall for her. Adria Arjona plays the innocent but deadly woman opposite Powell. She manages to be exceptionally stunning in her seduction of Powell's character and does fantastically with the big emotional outbursts between them toward the end. Austin Emilio doesn't have quite as much time, but he plays the slime ball well. There's moments where you genuinely respect him for his experience and honesty, and then there's moments where you just want to smush his face into the wall because he's so obnoxious. He gets to do a lot of emoting throughout his time on screen and does a great job of getting across a lot of meaning with no dialogue. Visually, the film is quite simple, but they did a good job with the camera work, costumes, and set design. Everything looks clean, is easy to follow, and is soft on the eyes. Most of the time they tend to focus on close-ups and emotional shots, and it works quite well to get the story across. The story takes place in a normal city with Powell visiting different locations to meet with Arjona for dates and clients as a hitman. There's also a few brief moments inside a police station conference room. With a solid story, good acting, and a decent visual journey, it was easy to find this film entertaining as I tried to guess where it was going and basked in the fun and romantic relationship between Powell and Arjona. That said, it definitely had its flaws and could have done a bunch of things better. For example, the story lacks exciting moments. All it is comedic meetings between Powell and the wacky clients and romantic meetings between Powell and Arjona. They throw in some good tension toward the end, but it's too little too late. The film also doesn't really give you a direction. It's not clear where we're going at any point, which is good for the mystery, but also means there's not much to look forward to. There's no real build-up either, it all just happens in the background. The visual journey lacked big exciting moments. It didn't have many opportunities to begin with, but they squandered what little they had by using standard sets and costumes. They never try to spice things up or add any pizzazz to what's going on. The only time the visuals even remotely stood out was during the scene with the bag over the man's head. The way it drifts up and down with his final breaths was highly disturbing, and having "thank you" written all over it was just the creepy icing on the cake. It was a very cool shot, but they didn't manage anything else like it in the film. The soundtrack was also non-existent, only appearing in a few select scenes and often being too quiet to have much of an impact. What appeared was generic instrumentals that didn't add much feeling or emotion to the story. Without much music, the film felt very empty and bland. Personally, I thought the acting and the premise were great and the visual journey was okay. They definitely missed a lot of opportunities to make this film stand out though. It would have been a lot cooler if they had had more direction and added a soundtrack worthy of the story. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 5 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye.